gameplay as far as the people, and hopefully can be able to go about giving some sound advice to where like people can go about taking it and not necessarily like change point of view, but just go about broadening like the horizon of the view of certain things, because that's something too where with some people will find themselves to like a roadblock and really getting good at like certain like games as to why that they can't, you know. Sometimes you taking a break and venturing into some other game can be like the best thing that you go about doing. Not even quitting what it is that you want to go about playing, but just taking a break from it and venturing into something else. Hell, y'all see me playing like, this random ninja game. But who knows? But for me playing this could probably translate into my fighting game dynamic somehow. Like I try to make it as simplistic as possible and just try to go about making it like really clear and concise for the most part. And again, like I said, you have a lot of people really that there's a lot of new people that are coming in to where that they're kind of just like deer in the headlights, is not really knowing what's going on, and we don't really have too many people that are super willing to just give out advice like that. Like there's a few of like people, and I mean like within like the world of the internet, right? Not to say that you can't go into a random stream and ask questions and whatnot, but between some people not really being super knowledgeable and people and others not being willing to go about doing so, basically it's like ignoring you or not like acknowledging your questions sometimes. Or the other thing where like some people are just like so like within like this higher up position to where that you try to do so and it's like you're basically just being like clouded out by everybody else. Some people don't have these avenues to like really be able to ask people who are aware of shit that's going on, that are really level headed, to be able to give these types of answers to where that they can go about understanding things and be able to implement it within what they have or what they're trying to go about building. Because like Jay is like a good example. Like Jay will go about asking me about stuff and just go about talking to me about things for, like with just games in general, and like of course most recent Dragon Ball Fighter, since we're both playing it. And while I may not have like directly have one about sitting down and training with like Jay per se, like me just giving him information has one about helping him out, because now it's like now he has food for thought for like some of the situations that are going on for him to be able to apply. Now, if he takes it to training room and he goes about like practicing that more, then most definitely power to him. But just him having that advice as to like what to go about doing within some situations, or what you can go about doing versus like for example, like set a character, like matchup information, those types of things really help, even if that like it's not something that you per se go about showing. Just having the information, something to go about sitting there and keeping in mind. Like he can go about taking that shit to the training room and go about practicing it if he really wants to, because now he has the information to be able to be like, okay, well Jamar said that you can go about doing this, that, and the third to this situation. Let me see how effective this is. Oh shit, I can go about doing this, and if I do, I get this off of it. So you're basically building pieces to the puzzle, Um, I don't have to fully give him the answer. Like, it would be nice if I do, but I go about taking him to the water. I'm like, here, man, here's all the fucking water. If you want the shit, go ahead, take the motherfucker. If he goes about drinking the shit, more power to him. If he don't, that's cool. He knows where the water is at, though. Yeah, man, there's too much food out here to go about eating for us to be trying to be stingy with the shit. And I can get the mentality, but it's like somebody else being successful does not take away from me being able to be successful, if you want to be fair, you know? And I think that's how people look at it too, and that's why that is to the point where you have a lot of people who are more so wanting to get themselves to like this level to where like they're being appreciated and heavily regarded for shit versus like, you know, helping out the whole dynamic of, you know, trying to support said scene. And I think this scene being supported is one big ordeal that is most definitely coming into play now, that's really being addressed among people, um, that I've been talking about for a good while now. This is kind of ironic because afterwards of coming back from final round, a lot of shit just seemed to really went about blowing up between like a situation with Shin Blanca, the whole like thing with Mike Ross and Team Spooky. I don't know if y'all have seen all of those, but I can most definitely give details if y'all want, you know, some more on it. But yeah, like these things have been talked about for a good minute, at least from my end, and I'd like to see the FGC do better because beforehand, you know, I felt like that, you know, it was something that was more genuine of a thing to where like it was just being like we're just playing more so because it is something that was being enjoyed. It is not wrong to want as far as like monetary gain from, because this is not something that's really a easy thing to just go about doing. Like it is technically a sport that we are partaking in, but it's at a point where like we're within a community that's not really getting too much support and is asking for the support of others that are within a community where the community really doesn't want to go about giving that support on many of levels, not just like money wise, but you know, just like taking out the time to go about doing certain things and trying to like empower us that scene that they may be in. So you know, it just led to like a lot of inter inner community issues that are popping up, and it's got to the point to where like now is getting to like the you know, the more higher ups within said community, and it's not looking too good. You know what, you have a good point as far as with that, and like I'm not even haven't even really thought about it that way, but yeah, and I don't know why that's not the case, because like of us not going about it that way, because like especially within my community as of right now, I would probably say like I'm one of the better, if not the best or so player like around my scene as of right now, and it's not like that I'm not willing to go about helping out people that are around. Shit, I go about not only supporting said scene by like playing stuff that I may not necessarily like be 100% into, but like, no, there's information that's asked of. I go about trying to provide it as best as possible. I just try to go about basically just being a good host of the whole thing, because despite the fact of where like my position may be special in consideration to the others that I go about playing with, I'm still just, you know, still just, you know, some regular schmo. Like I enjoy doing this for more than just like, you know, just getting like some type of respect for doing so. I play because I enjoy playing. And I would like to think that the people that I play with are also within that same boat, which is why I go about, you know, when I go about, you know, playing with them and like at least trying to have a good time with playing with these people. Like it's much more than just like, hey, I just want to get my respects, fuck everybody. If the community gets to the point of where it's treating it like, yo, you know, like this is what it's all about, then, you know, that may be something that goes about changing. And I mean like inner, like actually in my scene, to where it gets to that point. But as far as right now, like I'm at least trying to like go about building up something versus coming through trying to like swing my dick around like, yo, fuck all y'all, I'm the shit. Like, none of y'all ain't ever gonna be shit. Like, this is not cool to go about doing. And only that, these are potential, like, people who could go about doing something within some event. You never know. I'd like to be able to say, like, yo, man, I go about training with that guy. Like, you know, he goes about coming out to, like, my arcade or some shit. Say, I want to go about being able to help people to get to the position that they want to go about getting into. Point them in the right direction to be able to do so. Too many resources out here to be lost. And if I go about doing so of helping out my scene, that ultimately goes about helping out everybody else too. If I make this one person who's, you know, already a good player better than what they are, then now that goes about influencing the other people to go about trying to get better to beat said person. I mean, I would like to think that, but if you really take it into consideration, like, fighting game tournaments have been happening for a long ass time, and it's never been something that's been regulated. See, and you see, that's something that we got to keep in mind too. Like, the spectator portion is also really important as well. But yeah, though, like, we've been, like, fighting game tournaments have been happening for a long ass time, and it's never got to the point of where, like, any type of StarCraft type of shit, or like how Call of Duty is, or like Halo or anything like that. Like, we've kind of been getting, well, not even kind of, we have been getting the short end of the stick for a long ass time. And I feel like that if we're going to keep moving forward, there's most definitely changes that need to happen. I'm not saying that we need to be sent home like big ass fucking paychecks and shit like that, but there needs to be more of an incentive. Like, there's a lot of us that are, you know, well, there's a good bunch of us that's going about doing this shit that most definitely can go about supplying something to teams, to sponsors, you know, just to like this whole community itself. And a lot of us are doing this more so out of the love of doing so, without there being any type of big backing behind it. So we're basically just doing it, just going out of pocket. So like, it's something to where, like, which is why, like, I'm not surprised whenever people do blow up about the shit. Like, for example, you know what happened with, like, Mike Ross. Like, you get to a point to where that what you love to go about doing, if it's not basically, like, especially in that scenario, if it's not something that's really becoming, like, beneficial afterwards, all the work that you went about putting in to still have people basically afterwards of all this acknowledgement, this respect and shit that you basically have earned from doing all of these things, to still basically, like, give you a middle finger at the end of the day, like, that goes about saying a lot as to how far, you know, that we really aren't progressing. You know, like, how far are we really progressing if we have somebody who is very notable of a person within the FGC to still, like, afterwards all the work they've been putting in, to still be given the middle finger at the end of the day? Like, I have my hopes that things most definitely go about changing for the better, but it's just that within current day of everything that's been going on and how long that we have been doing this, that it's not changing. And they're trying to put it within the context of being esports, but we're not being treated like this is truly like an esports deal. We're not being heavily glorified as if it's an esports deal. We're not being paid like it's an esports deal. there's nothing really all that special that's being granted to us within the context of quote unquote esports. And there needs to be more of an incentive. I know this sounds kind of wild, but there needs to be more of an incentive of playing within a fucking tournament. There's so many people that go out of their way to go to a tournament, go about putting money down, for the event and whatnot. People that continuously there, and they go about going there and getting not much of shit from it. And I'm not saying that like everybody deserves to be within the limelight, because you have a few people you have a few people that are most definitely can deserve it, but again, just overall, when it comes to the events, there needs to be more incentive for us to be willing to be a part of these things. Because now it's to the point where like you have some people who kind of don't even fucking care about that shit. They would just way rather sit home and play online. And I can completely understand that. Like, why would I go about spending like $100 or so to go to an event with these large amount of people to where like I may not necessarily get, to go about playing with a lot of these people, to where like, shit may happen within tournament. I may get like flustered or some shit like that. I get knocked out. After like some people afterwards them getting knocked out of a tournament, that's pretty much it for the weekend for them. Like they're not doing anything else besides sitting in a hotel room just chilling. And sometimes there really isn't shit there for you to do besides either A, keep playing, or just B, just go back to the room or some shit. Just be chilling. I don't have the answer to what should be given at the point in time, but again, I just feel like there should be more incentive of really being willing to do so. And I feel like there needs to be more shine to be given to players, especially with how many that we do have now that are trying to go about doing something. And like, I'll put it to you like prime example, right? And I'm not mad about said thing, but I looked up as far as like just trying to find like my matches that I did at final round. I can't even find either one of them two. So it was like, now I can't go back and watch the tapes of said match to see like what I may have did right or wrong. But now like that's also taken away from the idea of like really supporting like the scene. Like imagine you go to this tournament, right? And everybody that they go about like putting up within their listings for videos is just people that are like super notable that you already aware of, that's been around for a long ass time. Again, like we all do want to go about seeing good matches. Can't take away from that. But if you want the community to support the idea of you, if you want for the community to be behind you, you have to within some way support the community. Not just like doing like stream setups at tournaments, but you really have to like incentivize the idea of like, yo, we care about the players that are here and their time. Because when you go about doing shit like that, it looks like basically a waste of time to the people who are actually playing on stream to begin with. So if I went out of my way, for example, which I know that would be fucked up if I did, of like how it'd be looked at as a community, if I were to be like, yo, is this shit gonna be put on YouTube? And they go about telling me no, and I make a big uproar about it, it's gonna be looked at as if like I'm a fucked up individual for doing so. But be honest with me, would this not equate to being wasting my time of playing on stream if like it wasn't something that was put up? Like, that's not even me being petty or anything like that, because it's like I want to be able to look at my shit, and there's other people who would like to be able to look at my shit for us to be able to at least kind of like digest stuff that's there, for me to, at least do some type of review on shit, but I can't do that. And that's like the bullshit like really pisses me off, because I'm paying money to go out to these events to go about playing, and if I do play on stream, that basically is like a spectacle for y'all to, go about enjoying, that I myself can't even like revel in the fact of. I have no type of proof besides a fucking badge that I was at final round. in a shitty ass book bag that's breaking apart. I literally have just like commemorative items in memories. So that's like my biggest issue that I have with some of the events. Like that's why did I like as far as like going to some of the other events and like how some of the other events go about doing stuff, because they would actually give shine to the people that are there, that are coming out of the way, from like out of town or some shit to go to your event. Like you have events that put up like whole pools if possible. You'll go about events that like whenever they do have these matches on stream, they will still go about posting them up. But that selective shine shit is some fuck shit in my opinion, man. It's not something that's cool for like when you have people that's coming out of the way to go about playing for you to just be like, well, we're not going to put this match up because we don't know either one of these two people. Like that's so fucked up though. Like if I would have made it if I would have made it out of pools, would my shit have been put up then? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, because this is selective ass fucking shine. You know what? That's basically what we're gonna coin this: selective shine. Hashtag selective shine. Like we're coining this term now, because when it comes to this situation, like there's been a good amount of times of me seeing like this shit happen, and that takes away from the whole spectacle and incentive to do these types of things. That's why that you have a lot of people that don't really care to go to a tournament. That's why whenever like I see people online be like, yo, you should do so on and so forth, or like you should go to a tournament and do this, that, and the third. It's not like that people don't want to. I know a lot of people that talk about wanting to go to tournaments, but I also know of some people that have had bad times as far as that tournaments, i.e. final round. Not just for me, but there have been several people who spoke of like previous ones that weren't all that great to them. Not just that, but other events too, of there being, fuck shit that's went about going on. So, again, like the incentive is very low. I could most definitely go to a place to where like, notable players could be at, but that doesn't mean that I would really be able to like sit down and play with anybody. Like, especially within a building full of people who are probably harassing the fuck out of these people. Because trust me, it happens. Either way though, that's basically just like one of the biggest issues that have happened, alongside with everything else that's going on, to where now you have a lot of people that are really expressing as to the issues that are here with like the FGC as a whole, and it's so many different dynamics to it that affect it, to where that it's really got to grow into being like such a big issue, to where I don't even know how you directly want to go about fixing it. Like I'll put it to you like this, Ethan. Like, if you went to an event, right? You spent money. But let's say normally for an event, I'm gonna just go about like giving like this estimative number. Let's say that you play like one game, which most people probably gonna go to events to play more than one thing. But let's say you're only playing one game, and you wait a little bit because you're not sure if you're gonna go about going, so you end up having to pay like $70 to $80 to go about getting to said event. Okay, that's already one portion of it. Then you have to go about paying for your hotel room. Let's say that you plan on staying there Friday, Saturday. That's like another $250 that you have to go about spending, right? Okay, cool. So now you get there to your destination, to where it's at. Let's say it's out of state. You got to drive like maybe like 2 states over. That's gas. You probably like $60 or so dollars, maybe, for you, depending on what you're driving. Then on top of that, you have to pay for food while you're there. So let's say like while you're there, within the context of those 2 to 3 days, depending, you spend like $80 on food. That's straight up money out of your pocket, right? Mind you, let's say that you go there, you know, you go about playing, you don't do too bad, you, at least within your mind, you do better than what you thought you were gonna go about doing. Um, you don't make it out of pools, but you do all right though. So then, like the rest of the time that you're there, when you're not out of the tournament, you're basically just there, like just chilling. You could go about trying to take advantage of the point that you're within this building with all these like amazing players and whatnot, or like some of the like more higher caliber ones you wouldn't mind playing, but it's gonna be kind of hard to go about getting your foot in. So now you either have to go about trying to enjoy the arcade cabs that are there, which is not really too bad of a deal. I mean, you can most definitely do that because I did, or you can try to go about getting some more practice in with the mindset of like, yo, you just got knocked out of tournament, so like your whole purpose of being there for the weekend, like one big portion of it is really just basically gone. So, and let's say for example, you go about playing on stream like I did, and they don't go about giving you like the recognition of putting up said video. You would probably feel like that, yo, I got gypped a little bit. Like they didn't even go about putting me up. They didn't even go about giving me a little bit of spotlight. And mind you, this is within the idea of, us supporting said scene. Because people say this shit all the time. Oh, you need to support the scene. Oh, we need to support the scene. The scene, needs to be supported. Da 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 da. This is something that has been said to death. But we have these type of situations that happen that completely shits on the idea of supporting the scene. Like, and I know some people won't necessarily agree with it, but supporting the scene most definitely does include the new players or the unfamiliar faces. Like, there's a lot of people that are around now that weren't super notable faces, like not even like 2 years or so ago. Like they may have did something within one game, and now it's just like, oh, that's so on and so forth. But they weren't always like that. They were beforehand. They were just some new face. So like you gotta support the scene. Like you actually have to do it within more than just the context of saying, or providing like stream to like really hit on that idea. Oh no, I most definitely am okay with like casual local matches. If anything, I encourage it because the offline experience is way better. But what I'm saying is, it's more so like, okay, the reason why that I'm speaking on it like the way that I am is like, you spend all this money to put yourself in a position where you can get good casual offline matches, but look at how much you're spending to get to a point to do so. Like you spent like $350 plus within that scenario just to get to a point to where like you could be able to do this, to where that you went about doing, at least to you feel like you did some decent work. Oh well, my bad. But yeah, you get to the point where you feel like you did this, this decent work, and then they don't give you shine. But I wouldn't say that they don't really. I can't really say that they don't really care for like offline casuals. It's just that like it's kind of hard to get to like sometimes like play within like these casual matches, with some of the people that you may want to play just because of shit that's going on. And not only that, like sometimes, like for example, when I was playing like Dragon Ball FighterZ, I would have loved to been able to play like casuals within it, but because of everything that was going on like within like my pool, that wasn't something that was really optimal for me to go about doing, especially with majority of the stations being took up to play. So it's like I either would have had to wait it till like afterwards of majority of stuff being done, or come back the next day and try to get my foot in the door, which I went about playing a little bit, I believe like the next day, but at that point, like your incentive of being there afterwards, the pools, of you being knocked out, it's like, well, guess I can go home now. It's kind of disheartening, Never a good feeling, most definitely. But I think that majority of people are most definitely on board for casual setting, like offline, but I think it's more so the incentive. Why would I go out of my way of paying so much money to put myself in a setting where I can be able to play casually when I could just sit home and play you off of my internet that I'm paying for? That is really good. That's basically like the mindset of a lot of people within, like, not necessarily like casual level, but more like, I would say within like the intermediate like portion of things. Like the people are not bad, but not like super good. I would say, though, the important things that could happen within a community that would most definitely help out is that, one, the whole support thing, like actually do so like we're trying to heavily advocate, because it makes no fucking sense for us to be screaming, like basically support the community when we're not doing that same thing that's being advocated for. And especially from like the people that it comes from, like between the higher level people to like the more of like local scene, there's so many people that are not doing what is being asked of, or like basically advocated for, that now that is like, okay, you say support the scene, but how are you really supporting the scene when you're doing shit like that? So that's one big thing most if I can go about changing. And two, like I said, I don't know exactly how to go about working, this portion of it in, but incentive overall for like just FGC in general needs to go about really being increased, because we can't be fucking playing for like just like pennies, man. And it's not even really just about the money aspect of it either. It's about the fact of, like I said, with tournaments, to where like you have people who go out of their way to be a part of these things, and when they're put within the spotlight, they're not even given like the proper recognition of the fact of that they were there. So like basically it's like a big spit in the face to me, because now if I want to go about going to see like me being at said event to where I actually played, I can't do that shit. So I would say those would be like the two most recommended things I can go about changing. And like there's a portion too of the scene to where like still quite bullheaded on a lot of things, to where that it's treated like that, like you have some people that feel like that they're better to the point where like they can't even acknowledge you too. and that basically goes about taking away from the whole support thing too as well. But again, like, I know it's one of those things where it's easier said than done, but if it's said as often as it is, it should be getting done, you know? And when as far as with it too, like, you kind of have to like be within the circle, you know what I'm saying, to like kind of see everything. So if you don't go about seeing it easy, and I completely understand, because beforehand, when I wasn't deeply invested into it, I was basically the same way. I was like, I'm not necessarily sure as to like what the issue is, or like why that this is going on. But as time went on, I my eyes really started to go about opening to everything, and I'm seeing most definitely clearly now. But yeah, that's pretty much like the gist of things. Um, Basically, final thoughts of everything is that there the whole supporting the community thing most definitely needs to be a thing if we're going to go about advocating for it so much. There needs to be more incentive given for us people to go out to a tournament if you expect for us to go about coming out and trying to support not only the community but our game that we are, playing at that point in time. Um, there's more to a fighting game that people try to go about putting it out to be, which goes about further showcasing the fact that, that you have a lot of the audience that may not fully understand as to just everything that's there. And there's nothing that's held against them, because, hell, I know there's a lot of people who go about probably watching, like, Call of Duty or some shit tournaments, and they don't know what the fuck is going on. Yeah, I think Yipes is a good example of, like, really supporting the idea of things. He's been supporting Marvel despite the fact of, of good or bad. Um, what was else I was gonna say? And then just like I said, just trying to like, just really like pump life into your scene and trying to help out with what you got going on. Because not every scene is glamorous, but you do have some gems that are there, and sometimes you just gotta wipe them bitches off. Say, I'm just trying to go about providing, just as much as I can to go about like helping the people that are around by not only like giving advice and leading them to where to go about finding it, but just trying to support the idea of things that are there. So there's so many things you can go about doing in that dynamic that can go about helping, that it's not just one simple answer. It's going to be something that's different for everybody, but doing any of these things most definitely can go about helping. So say, with that being said, though, if any of y'all got like any questions, like, I'm really easy to get in touch to. I don't know exactly what y'all would go about wanting to go about figuring out, but general questions, I can most definitely handle those. If you want specifics, we'll try to work it out. If I don't have an exact answer, I'll figure out some shit. Well, yeah. When it comes to the community, at this point, I'm pretty much indifferent with it. It's not like I don't support the idea of it, but is this to the point where it's like, man, I want this shit to happen, but what can I do? I'm only one person, and while I do want for this shit to work out, I'm doing enough of shit on my end. Like, there's only so much that I can go about doing on my end, or I should be expected to do, to where it's like, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, I'm doing this shit. What are y'all doing? Type of deal. So no problem, Karen. Just like I said, just trying to go about helping out, basically, and trying to give out the juicy bits and information that people feel like are looking for, but just don't know where to really go for it. So yeah, like I said, if it comes down to a point where it's like, yeah, you have to go about asking questions about something, please feel free to go about doing so. So pretty much what I'm here for. I'm not just here just to go about playing some games and try to look hella, ballerific on here. Like I'll go about answering questions, no problem. This is something that coexists with both parties. Y'all are a part of this. While I may be the host of things, y'all are most definitely a part of this process too. So no problem, Jane. Like, say, y'all have provided me with, a community of people to go about playing. Just like various of things. Like, y'all went about introduce me to a good amount of stuff that I myself, would not have probably been exposed to if it was simply, it was just something simply that I was just, venturing out on my own. So, like I said, it is most definitely a joint effort. Like, y'all went about basically helping me with in some ways, just like I went about helping y'all in some ways. Man, Tony had kind of banged me out the other day when I was using Broly, if I recall. Didn't feel too good. We got through it though, but man, it was quite banging, man. So I don't know what Tony be doing, but man, he needs to calm down. So with that being said, though, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night as right here. I'd like to thank y'all for coming by and watch me as I play some obscure stuff. This Ninja Senkai. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't. Sometimes I'm not good with these words, man. I swear. But as usual, if you're not already doing so, please follow the channel, and if you're feeling generous, please go about subbing to the channel. Everything that y'all go about doing, helps, and as normal, just go about appreciating the support and love that I have been given. It's been a pleasure talking to y'all tonight about just the community and just everything else that's going on. Again, if y'all got anything else for me, so y'all know where to go about reach me. Very easy of a man to go about getting in touch with. Hell, you can hit me up. I'm here if you want. I'll go about responding. So either way, it has been your boy Nightmare Zen, going in for the win as usual. Y'all get out there. Y'all stay focused, stay winning, stay zenning. Until next time, I'm not sure what I'm going to go about doing. But whatever it is, it will go about being hype as usual. So that's pretty much something I can go about guaranteeing at least.